Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my November wrap up. Before I start this video, if you hear my son talking in the background, please do your best to ignore it because I'm trying to film and he doesn't really want me to be great right now, but it's fine. So getting straight into it, I read 2.5 books this month, which is not a lot. I already know it, but first of all, I'm just starting off. Second of all, I have a child and he takes up 95% of my time. Literally. So the first book I read this month was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I've had this for like 2.5 years, probably longer. It's got sun damage and all of that. But I finally got into reading this book and I'm pretty sure I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, the link is going to be in the description. So Sometimes I Lie is a psychological thriller that revolves around a woman, Amber Reynolds, who is in a coma. She's in a coma, but she can hear everything that's going on around her, but she has no idea why she's in a coma. So the whole time we're following her thoughts and what's going on in the hospital rooms with the people who are having conversations, trying to figure out and piece together why she is in a coma and who did it, because she knows that something is wrong with the situation. Overall, I gave this a 4-star rating on Goodreads, but I gave it 3.75 stars in real life because I just felt like it wasn't good enough for 4 stars. Something about it just didn't click for me. The beginning was slow. I felt like some things were unnecessary. There was one specific character who just could have been taken completely out of the book. I felt like his presence was completely unnecessary and it served no purpose. When you get to the end of the book, you're like, why was he even here? But maybe if there is a sequel to the book, maybe he has something to do with the way that the book ended. Now, the book was left with a little bit of an open-ended twist, which is cool. I actually like those type of twists with thrillers because it leaves you questioning everything you felt like you knew about the book. So with there being so many plot twists in this book, I started to get a little bit confused. I have a hard time reading without actually trying to come to a conclusion about what's happening in the book before the book is over. I actually had a good time being confused, but there were moments when I was just straight up confused and it wasn't like enjoyable. But one thing I can say is after finishing this book, I did talk about it for a few days and how the plot twist had me a little bit confused. I had to watch TikToks on it and figure out what other people were thinking about the ending and what it might mean. And I did find out that Alice Feeney is planning on writing a sequel to this book, which makes a lot of sense because the way it ended, it was just like, huh? If there wasn't going to be a sequel, it would honestly be kind of stupid. I'm not going to lie. Which is kind of why I docked it. Like, everything in the moments of me finishing the book, that was what I gave the rating on. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. That was my review for Sometimes I Lie. The next book that I read was Animal by Quan. I ultimately did not finish this book. It just was not my speed. I thought that maybe after reading a lot of romance and Colleen Hoover books, maybe I needed to venture off into a new lane. Now, I like murder mystery. I like that whole aspect, but who said it? Birdman. Birdman said it best. You can't get more hood than this book, and I couldn't get with it. I was like, this is too much for me. I don't feel like reading this, and I had to stop. So this followed a guy named Animal who was in jail, and while he was in jail, somebody killed his girlfriend, his lover, his baby boo, you know? So it says that the only thing that kept him going was the thought of getting out, God bless you, and being able to be reunited with his girlfriend, only finding out when he gets out of jail that somebody murdered his girl. So he goes on a revenge killing spree and he's just like, he just wants blood. So that's what this is about. It's a hood book. It's probably a good book. It's not my speed. It wasn't even the details of this book that made me read it because there were some like gory details in there, but it was more so like all the characters. There were a lot of introductions and a lot of characters that I had to learn and try to figure out who was trying to kill who and why so-and-so is beefing with the next person and who the third person is and what gang they were a part of. It was just too much for my blood. I just can't. It was too much. I was like, okay, I don't have time for this. So that's why I did not finish this book. If you're interested in like a hood book, try it out. A lot of people like this book. As a matter of fact, it has an average rating of 4.56 stars. Do with that what you will. Read it or don't, but that was my review of this book. The last book that I read was almost just as hard to read as Animal. It was The Perfect Marriage. Now, I say that because this book took me like 2 weeks to read. Something about the language, something about the way it was written. I didn't like it. I did not like this book. So The Perfect Marriage follows Sarah and Adam Morgan. Sarah is a defense attorney and Adam is a writer. So Adam ends up getting accused of murder and Sarah decides to defend him, only to find out that the person that he is being accused of murdering was his mistress. And we're following that storyline to figure out who the actual killer was. Dun dun dun. I gave it a 2-star rating in real life and on Goodreads, and I will read you my Goodreads review. I was disappointed reading this book. The synopsis was so compelling for me, but it honestly was very hard for me to finish reading. It was something with the way it was written that couldn't keep my attention. I finished the book because I was curious to know who the murderer was, and although I didn't guess correctly, I do feel like it was somewhat predictable. Overall, I was underwhelmed. So that basically sums up how I felt about this book. There were good things about this book, and there were a lot of things that I just felt like weren't very good, and that had to do with the way it was written, the language used in this book. I couldn't get with. I said it felt like this was probably the author's first book. Now, I don't know that for sure, but just the way that it was written, it just didn't seem like something from a seasoned author. Sorry. That's just how I feel after reading the book. I just didn't really enjoy it. I'm not going to go into complete detail about what I did and didn't like about this book because I just made a reading vlog with this book. So if you want to see all those details, please go watch my reading vlog. But overall, I gave this a 2-star rating. I would not recommend, but people have given polarizing reviews for this book. Some people love it, some people hate it. I just didn't love it. And that was the last book that I read this month. It took me a very long time to finish this book, and it took me a long time to decide not to read Animal. So next month, hopefully I have better book choices that would help me speed through the reading process and get more books read. Next month is December, and I'm hoping maybe I should do a romance or like get some Christmas vibes in there. If y'all have any book recommendations, put them in the comment section because I will be happy to add that to my TBR list. But that's all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are on all of the books that I read this month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.